Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I've got a pile of various perfectly good work holding devices that have been neglected. Doesn't matter who they were neglected by, we're not pointing fingers, we're trying to find a solution here. Yeah, it was me. I did it. So I was doing YouTubing, of course, where you're gonna go, and I came across a guy who used water with borax in it and a battery charger from a car. Tried that out. It did actually an amazing job. This is how it ended up. I believe I'll be able to show you a picture of before I started. I'll do that now. Here's a close-up of just how gross this thing is and how bad I've let it become. And more recently, I was watching another YouTube video and a guy had vinegar and was using vinegar for rust removal and compared it to a whole range of store-bought rust removal solutions. And at the end of the day, the vinegar was by far cheaper and worked twice as well as anything else. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I should try vinegar. And then I thought, you know what I haven't seen? I haven't seen someone mixing vinegar with borax and adding electricity to see how that removes rust. So I have two willing participants here. One of them is going to go in straight vinegar, and the other one is going to go in vinegar with borax and have electricity applied to it through a battery charger. And I want to see which gives us the quickest and best results. And I'm excited to see what happens here, so please stick with us. Let's do this. So I'm going to have my positive running to this washer, just a plain steel washer. That should collect all of our rust. And I'm going to somewhat secure that on here so it's not moving around the whole time.
Easy on my VIEGAR.
Yeah. Now I need to suspend this so it's hanging right in there, right about like that. So I'm going to set that up. So I got this part there, that's perfect, tied up to this rod. My negative will go on here. The negative charge will go into my part. The positive goes into the washer at the bottom. And all the rust on here should collect on there. So now we need to add our borax and our vinegar. Really get that mixed up in there. Hang our part in there. And fill it the rest of the way up. Now this one's taller than the vase, but see, I don't use this taper myself, and the center hole is in real decent shape. I do use the center hole. So if I can clean like from here down, I'll be perfectly happy with that. So I'm just going to lay that in there and fill it up as high as I can with the vinegar. Okay, you can see a little bubbling starting on this one. But I do want the charger on it to keep this battery up the whole time. So now I'm going to hook the charger up to the battery. There we go. There we go. So there's clearly a lot of action going on in the one with the electricity, the vinegar, and the borax, which is totally what I was hoping for. Now the one with just the vinegar, there's some bubbles on there. Now while we're waiting on that, this one that I used electrolysis on the last time, it worked great, cleaned it up really nice, but I still can't get this sleeve off of here. So one of our viewers commented, try putting beeswax there, heated up gently, just enough to melt the beeswax. His thinking was the beeswax would go in between the two parts, find its way in there, lubricate everything up, and allow us to finally get this off without damaging it. So we're gonna try that right now. I think I win like the best wife prize, guys. She's let me use her vases and her favorite Halloween candle to do my experiments with. So hats off to you, sweetie. That actually does smell really nice. It smells like cheesecake or something. That's crazy. Okay, so I'm gonna get a torch. We're gonna warm that up, see what happens. I really don't want to get this arbor super hot. I don't want to risk having it warp in any way. I don't want to affect its hardness in any way. I just want to heat it up in the area that needs some heat to melt the wax. Do it nice and evenly as best I can so that everything happens evenly during the heating and cooling. It shouldn't take an awful lot of heat to melt the wax. It's already starting to go. I just need it to run down into the seam where I want it, and we'll see if it loosens this up. So that wax is thoroughly melted now, and I mean, it's not crazy hot. I can tap it. I'm certainly not going to grab onto it, but it's not crazy hot. So I suppose, in theory, there's a chance this will just twist off now. And it is slippery, I can tell you that. And it is not just falling off there. Kind of didn't think it would. But in theory now that wax is in there and we'll be lubricating and loosening things up. So now maybe I'll try some gentle tapping and so on and see if I can get that thing to move. So anything I touch this ring with is going to damage it. So I'm just going to try and minimize the damage. I'm going to start with a center punch and see if I can get it to spin on there. I can always file that center punch mark out, and this thing doesn't do any locating from the outside diameter. Anyways, it's basically the faces that are used. It's starting to rotate. And it's starting to come off. It sure isn't real happy about it. Now, one thing I am noticing is that this sleeve is slightly cocked on here. There's a little bit bigger gap on this side than there is on this side. So before I go any farther here, I'm gonna see if I can get a center punch in there and just tap that side out, and maybe the thing will find its free spot. I'm okay with wrecking this spacer now. I think that's inevitable. I don't want to ruin this holder. It'd be a lot more difficult to make than the spacer. I really hope I don't have to try jamming a screwdriver in there because I could damage this hardened ground face. I don't want to do any of that. I'm hoping I can just worry this thing off here without ruining any part of the rest of this tool. Definitely coming. So there's our sleeve off. That may or may not be savable, but I'm certain I did no damage to the holder itself, which was the big deal here. What I find interesting is it appears as though the water, borax, and electrolysis didn't work all that great in between the two parts. It took all the rust off everywhere that was exposed, but it really didn't work great between the parts. You can see there's rust buildup inside the sleeve. And this piece here is also much darker under where the sleeve was. So that's not a problem necessarily. I can fix all that up with some superfine emery cloth. So the beeswax, maybe, but didn't work for me in this particular situation. I'm not saying I'm giving up on trying different things with it. I think it's a neat idea. Beeswax is a fairly miraculous thing. So again, not giving up, but didn't work here. Back to our experiment. Let's see what's going on. Still crazy amounts of bubbling going on with our vinegar, borax, and electricity combo. There's really something happening there. That washer was it was a brand new washer with a thin zinc coating on it. It's already black, and I'm pretty sure it's just going to keep getting blacker and collecting rust. The straight vinegar, tiny bit of bubbling going on. Not a whole lot more than before, but this could be the sort of thing where some patience is required. So we are going to come back and check these things out and at different intervals, and we'll see how it goes. It's been an hour now, and the electrolysis, borax, and vinegar is going crazy. There's all kinds of oil coming out that's getting collected on the top here. And that washer is practically gone. It's living in a forest of rust now. There's, I believe the way this works is there's oxygen coming off of the arbor and there's hydrogen coming off of the washer. And all that rust is coming from somewhere. So I'm assuming that part is getting cleaned very, very quickly. Now, I'm not going to pull it out right now at this point. I want to really let it keep working, but we're going to come back in a bit longer, and we'll take another look at them. And again, this will eventually be a 24-hour experiment where we see what happens. Now, this guy is in the pure vinegar. I think next to nothing seems to be happening. Might be possibly a few more bubbles on it, but there's certainly no discoloration to the vinegar. I don't see any sign after 1 hour of anything actually happening in the vinegar. But we'll give it a bit and we'll see. We're 2.5 hours in here. I do see more bubbling in the straight vinegar, but nothing crazy. I don't see any discoloration to the vinegar itself. And I don't see any oil coming out at the top that's been displaced for any reason. So it's doing very little. I'll be interested to see what happens after 24 hours, but 2.5 hours in, it's doing next to nothing. Whereas beside it here, with the borax, the vinegar, and this thing's going crazy. There's an absolute forest of rust on the bottom of this jar. The bottom of the tool itself has like stalagmites sticking off the bottom of it, and it's been bubbling the whole time. The vinegar's getting discolored. It's definitely turning a yellowish, I would say, rust type color. There's a lot of action going on here. It's interesting. This is just a chunk of high-speed steel bar that I had bought for making whatever out of. Used that to hang it there because it was about the right size. And that's corroding like crazy up here. The vinegar's been splashing on it, and I'm not even sure why that's corroding like that, but it is, and there's a bit of a tarnish on there. So I have really high hopes for the vinegar, borax, and electrolysis. That seems to be doing all kinds of stuff. I can't wait to see what happens after 24 hours. What I'm going to do is put this on time lapse. We'll come back in the morning, we'll see what's happening, we'll talk about it then. Well, these have been going for 18 hours now, and it appears as though the reaction is finished over here. The straight vinegar, there's some bubbles on there. I see a ton of rust on there still. In fact, rust is forming at the transition here between the part that's in the vinegar and the part that's out of the vinegar. No, it's actually more of just a scum on there. Anyways, I'm going to pull them out, clean them up, and then we'll decide what we want to do. The rust that's still on there is very loose, coming right off very easily. What's interesting, when I did this with water and borax and electricity, pretty much came out shiny. And this has been kind of blackened. Wasn't expecting that, and don't know why that is. These sleeves are showing no early signs of wanting to come off of there. Certainly taking the rust off, there's no question about that. And it must be something to do with the vinegar that's leaving that black kind of finish on there. Let's pull the other one out and see what it's doing here. I mean, it doesn't appear to be doing much of anything. Give it a scrub, see if that changes anything. Oh, so the vinegar actually has done a pretty good job on that rust. It didn't appear as though anything was happening, but I guess it was loosening it up, and it's definitely been having an effect. I'm interested to take a close-up look at this this washer in here.
Oh.
Oh.
Maybe that's why it stopped
Maybe
working.
that's why it stopped working. That's super interesting. Huh. Huh. So that melted off, corroded off, I guess. Not even entirely sure. I can't wait to show you guys this. This is nuts. "18 hours ago, this looked just like this. Now look in here. There's a ton of metal physically missing from this thing. I did not expect to see that. That's amazing. Just can't get over how eaten this thing is. That's incredible. This is our copper wire. It's eroded away to next to nothing. Boy, oh boy, some serious stuff was going on inside there. I want to hit this with the wire wheel, see what that does. So although the vinegar alone, just straight vinegar, didn't appear to be doing much, it actually was doing stuff. It cleaned this up decently. Quick wire wheeling, and that rust is pretty much gone. Now, neither of these want to release their spacer sleeves. I do want to get these off of here, but I don't want to destroy these arbors, so I might just have to do the same thing I did with that other guy yesterday and tap these off of here, probably destroying them in the process, but at least I'll be able to save the arbor itself. So I think these are going to have to go in the lathe, and I'll have to just machine these spacers off till there's next to nothing left, and I'll lose the spacers, but I'll save the arbors. So that's going to be fine. That's what we'll do. In conclusion here, both the vinegar straight up and the vinegar borax electrolysis mixture, which was ultimately more thrilling, but they both did about the same job in the end, I would say. By the looks of the vinegar, you know, it appeared as though nothing was happening, but it did its thing. Pretty incredible. Well, that's going to do it for this video, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.